Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so first off, so you asked me, you were involved in the printworks action at Broxbourne, and in 3 locations around the UK we had Extinction Rebellion organised a blockade of the press, and the action was called Free the Press.
Yeah.
You asked me if I could get a picture for you. Technology always fails us. There's a picture on that computer and I can't get it up on that screen. And it would have been a picture of 5 crooks, control unused, and Free the Press.
Yeah, Brian's got it on his living wall.
Right? Okay. Yes, please do come forward. And Sue, perhaps are you okay to stand up and talk to people?
Yes. When did I first become aware, really aware, fully aware of the toxicity of our press? I think it was actually before the climate movement really kicked off with XR, because I used to be, well I still am actually, a trustee for a charity supporting refugees. And I not only was involved in sending aid out to refugees, but I was also involved in welcoming people who came to this country. And I became aware of the absolute hate that was expressed in media headlines, in newspaper headlines, directed at vulnerable people, at victims of war, but also, of course, as victims of climate change. Because I'd been to a workshop through Friends of the Earth some years before that, when climate change was practically never mentioned in the public arena at all, a workshop on climate refugees. So I came to this awareness of how little truth there was, how much vitriol, and also the resounding silence about the climate crisis that sort of reverberated through the British press. And when I was invited 4 years ago to take part in a blockade of the Murdoch printworks at Broxbourne, it was a step up from anything I'd done before. I'd only sort of, sat in the road on Waterloo Bridge and things like that before. But I'm driven by emotion rather than driven by any great brain. And I just had this upswell of commitment that this was something I really, really wanted to do, because it was it was the right thing to do, something so right. Because obviously the climate crisis and the refugee crisis are interlinked. And this was one way of me taking a stand, although I was actually sitting, against this hate, this misinformation, this dark force actually poisoning society, causing division, turning human beings against each other. So I hope, well, there will be people in this audience who were there and will probably remember more about it than I do, because I'm 68 and it was 4 years ago and it's all a little bit of a blur. But what I do remember was, you know how sometimes as an activist you dress all in black, and that's often for optics or because to convey a sense of mourning. But on this particular night we were all dressed in black because we had to come out of an underpass in the dark, and we had to scuttle along the side of an A road, a busy road with lots of cars going down it, shining their lights, and we had to physically get to that printworks without being seen. And I just, even now I don't really believe how, that we did pull it off, but somehow we did. And so I'm sure everybody here knows, but there were 2 great big vans with messages on the side which said 5 groups control our news and free the truth. Also, refugees are welcome here. And then there were the beacons. And this was the first time that a bamboo beacon had been used at an XR action, which meant that when the police did eventually send the cutting crew, they were absolutely flabbergasted and seriously impressed. Really, I think it gave them actually quite a buzz that this was a challenge that they had to try to overcome. And then I had my arm through a lock-on tube. There were 2 structures where I think it was 4 lock-on tubes were joined together, and we called them the Loctopus. And I was actually sort of sitting on the top with my arm through the tube. So what I'm going to do is, I'm a writer. I don't really write anymore, partly because I used to go into schools to do workshops for children, but I'm a criminal now, so they won't have me. And I haven't got time. Anyway, I've got 40 books, and nobody's buying them, but that's fine. And I did actually, because I often write a poem after I've been involved in an action, I collected some short stories based on actions that I've done, but with characters that aren't quite me, and poems and little articles. And this book, Rebelling for Life, was just a little fundraiser for XR. It was followed by Still Rebelling for Life, and then the third one is Rebelling Like There's No Tomorrow. So I'm going to read this poem from September 2020, and I'm glad I wrote it because it reminds me of some of the things I would have forgotten otherwise. I'm straddling a tube. Blanket resistant, my legs feel newborn and frosted. On our web, there's a scrum, a mess of cross-stitch, lumpen and black. A stranded tentacled creature with secret mouths and 20 eyes. Secret mouths because we all had COVID masks on. My left hand's deep down steel, where fingers that raced time to lock rest stiff now in peace. Rain, like security, gave up, and the dark's grown generous, as likely it wraps us, 51 of us, while we sing like hardy villagers at a harvest supper, of small and sentimental tragedies scented with roses. Empty, I savour happiness, feel strong and sure and numb with love. High above, from bold bamboo, the crow's nests swing, and from the trucks, the playlist jokes. But this is serious, is everything. For just one day, the lies are stalled, and in their place, the truth can rise. As fireworks splinter scarlet, a grinding churns the air, and metal melts pungent through morning, we lift it to the light.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Okay.